Nutella, the chocolate spread that completes any plain slice of bread. But did you know that a jar of Nutella is sold every 2.5 seconds worldwide? Nutella's iconic flavor comes from a powerful mix that's made with real hazelnuts, giving it that signature nutty flavor. Today, at Whole Process, we'll trace all the steps it takes to create this delicious sweet treat, from the factory to the jar. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, do remember to like and subscribe. The company behind Nutella's yummy creation is Ferrero, founded in Italy in 1946. It's a global confectionery giant. The company has built its reputation by showing their commitment to responsibly sourcing cocoa, hazelnuts, and other key materials. With a presence in over 170 countries, Ferrero has grown into one of the world's leading chocolate and confectionery producers, all while maintaining the family-owned values that continue to guide its operations today. And their famous Nutella journey starts with a trip to West Africa, specifically Ivory Coast and Ghana, where the cocoa beans are sourced from. These regions are favored for their rich and fertile soil. The biggest advantage, however, is the fact that they have consistent weather. So how does cacao get harvested? They grow straight from the trunk and branches of the cocoa tree in large pods that resemble rugby balls. When these pods are ripe, they turn into warm shades of orange and red. Though here's the delicate part: since harvesters don't want to damage them, they get harvested by hand using machetes. These same machetes are then used as tools to splice the pods in half to reveal their interior. Each pod contains about 20 to 50 cocoa beans covered in a sweet, sticky pulp. Then comes the fermentation part, which takes around 5 to 7 days. The beans and the pulp are placed in either shallow wooden boxes or piled under banana leaves. Then nature does its part, and the bacteria trigger the fermentation. So why is this actually central to get that chocolatey flavor we all adore? Simply, it develops the chocolate flavors and reduces the naturally present bitterness and acidity in the pulp at this point. But their story doesn't end here. The beans are left out into the sun to dry on raised mats or even trays. Workers come in to check and constantly rake the beans up and down, so each bean gets the much-needed heat, which helps the outer shell harden. At this point, the moisture level present in the beans drops to a humble 6 to 7%. Greatly minimizing the chances of mold growing and destroying the yield during shipping. Once the cocoa beans are packed and transported to the factories, the fun part begins. The clean beans are then ready for a good old roasting. Here they are fed into large industrial-grade ovens called roasters, with temperatures ranging from 250 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. These can be adjusted based on the bean's origin and moisture. This step is extremely crucial to get the deep chocolatey flavor and also darkens the color of the nibs. After roasting, cocoa beans are cracked, and the thin shells are removed through a process called winnowing. A stream of air blows away the lighter husks, while the heavier cocoa nibs, the true essence of chocolate, are collected. These husks aren't wasted. They're often repurposed as fertilizer, feed, or fuel. The clean nibs then move to grinding, where heavy rollers crush them into a paste known as cocoa mass. This happens because nibs contain around 50% cocoa butter, which melts under friction, creating a smooth, chocolatey base used to make cocoa powder, cocoa butter, and Nutella's signature flavor. With the nibs ready, it's time for the next meticulous steps. The nibs are ground into a thick paste called cocoa liquor, or cocoa mass. But here's the catch: they actually contain no alcohol. Instead, it's just finely grinded solids and cocoa butter. This cocoa mass then gets processed, with one part becoming cocoa butter and the remaining becoming a solid cocoa cake. Though the cocoa cake doesn't stay that way, it's very quickly ground into a fine cocoa powder, the core ingredient waiting to be blended into our mouth-watering Nutella spread. Though that's not the only ingredient needed, the final mixture still needs powdered milk, which has very strict methods of collection. It's gathered directly from cows and freshly milked to ensure the quality is the best. Ferrero works with contracted dairy farms that must meet their strict quality and animal welfare standards. Each of their batches is tested for fat content and even protein levels before being approved. and only milk that passes their standards passes to the Nutella factory line. After its journey from the cows and dairy farms, it's moved to a plant where it's quickly cooled to around 4 degrees Celsius to help preserve its proteins, fats, and vitamins. Then the cream is separated from the milk by the process of skimming, leaving behind only the nutrient-rich skim milk. Now comes the most important part in the process of getting the powder milk. If done wrong, it can potentially make people sick. The skimmed milk is added to boilers, and here is where it gets pasteurized and heated to 72 degrees for about 15 seconds in order to kill any and all harmful bacteria. After pasteurization, the skim milk is sprayed into a chamber of hot air, where droplets instantly dry into fine milk powder. But why would they convert it to powder form anyway? Well, there's an important reason for it. In this form, it's really easy to blend with the other dried ingredients like our previously manufactured cocoa. It also means it has a longer shelf life and is light enough to travel long distances, making transport a lot easier. Here, our journey takes its final stop at the sugar processing plants. Sugar is formed from either sugar beets, which are grown in Europe. The other flip is sugar cane, which is grown in more tropical climates and is actually the largest source of sugar. Sugar beets are processed into sucrose by a set of thorough steps. First, they get washed to remove any and all impurities that may be on them, like dirt and stones. Then, they get sliced into thin strips. The strips are then soaked in hot water, which ends up extracting the sugar juice. Then from here, lime and carbon dioxide are added to remove all impurities. But what does it take to create it into the sugar form that we need? The extracted sugar juice is boiled under a vacuum until sugar crystals form, resulting in a batch of fine and pure white crystals that dissolve completely when mixed with the other ingredients, giving us that lovely smooth Nutella texture with no graininess to be found anywhere. Now, we need our palm oil, which gets extracted from the fruit pulp of oil palm, which is sourced from countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and other certified sustainable suppliers across the world. The bunches of the fruit are harvested and then sterilized by being steamed. This is done to halt the pesky enzymatic activity. Then they get threshed, where the fruits are separated so that they can move to the pressing process. In that part, they get mechanically pressed until the oil is extracted and refined for food use. Finally, we reach the core ingredient, the reason Nutella is known for its nutty and rich flavor profiles: hazelnuts. But where does this delicious addition get sourced from? It mainly comes from Turkey, which is the producer of a whopping 70% of the world's hazelnuts, while countries Italy, Chile, and the USA are the other producers. The harvesting for these is done in the late summer, where they are amassed. Heavy machinery harvests nuts, along with the debris, and after they are collected in large amounts, they move on to the drying process, which is very similar to what happens to the cocoa beans we talked about earlier. This leads to less than 6% of the whole moisture content. Here they go through a thorough inspection process and get sorted in batches so that they can be roasted accordingly. Once perfectly roasted to a lovely dark golden brown, they get sent over to the grinding mills. Here they get grounded and crushed into a fine paste. Now comes the part we've all been waiting for, the moment when all 5 ingredients finally come together to become Nutella. At the Nutella factory, industrial mixers come to life and slowly combine all the ingredients: hazelnut paste, cocoa powder, sugar, milk powder, and palm oil. The temperatures and speeds are carefully controlled to ensure a uniform blend is created, one that showcases the perfect harmony of flavors as they melt in your mouth. Hazelnut paste is the main reason for that nutty flavor that dominates the Nutella spread, while also providing the natural oils to make it extremely smooth and spreadable. While the cocoa powder adds the perfect rich and strong chocolate kick needed. On the other hand, milk powder helps create that creamy and light texture that allows for a more relaxed mouthfeel. Then, the sugar and palm oils add the final touches, with the oil preventing fat separation and the sugar giving the sweet, decadent taste we crave. After all, from the hazelnut orchards and cocoa farms, everything leads to this: blending the perfect chocolate spread. Once the right consistency is reached, the mixture passes through refining rollers to eliminate any graininess. Intensive mixing is usually used to allow the flavors to blend and polish the flavor and texture profile. But that isn't the end of it all. Quality assurance teams test taste, aroma, viscosity, and smoothness to ensure the best product is getting shipped out and hitting shelves worldwide. But Nutella isn't Nutella until it's in that iconic jar. Here's how the world's most beloved spread is packaged in factories. Jars are lined up on the factory conveyor belts, and then high-speed nozzles pour the Nutella into each as they pass along. Automated systems ensure that each jar is filled to the exact same level. Then comes the protective foil seal. It locks in the freshness of the spread and effectively prevents any and all contamination. And of course, no packaging is complete without airtight lids, pressed down by automated cappers, finally leading them to the part of the factory where they get their identity. Machines apply labels and barcodes at high speeds so that each jar can be scanned as an original. Though that's not all. Entire batches are stamped with codes so that if there are issues in the future, be it traceability or quality audits, it can be easy to track them down. These batches are grouped, shrink-wrapped, and packed into large cartons. Conveyors stack these boxes onto pallets, and here they get loaded into trucks for a road trip around the world, where they will reach grocery stores all around the world, waiting to be picked up by you on your monthly grocery run. Do you like Nutella, and why? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And, as always, thank you for watching Whole Process. We'll see you in the next video.